picture can say the word on the child's behalf or on the individual's behalf. We want to take that concept of what we consider classic voice output and really bring it into the next level by making the language options or the icon options available for someone to press situationally adaptive. So if they're out at a restaurant, it might show them the menu. You know, if they're moving down the street, it might show them images of what's coming next based on their geographic position. Or based on what somebody else is saying to them, it might populate the menu of options to suggest what might be socially appropriate responses. So if somebody says, "What's your name, Evan?" to my son and he's holding it, it might show him a couple different options of things he might say. "My name is Evan," and then a picture, you know, like my name, and then Evan and a picture of him. So it might be situationally adapted to try to help steer it towards a more appropriate social conversation, which is another thing that some of these individuals struggle with, is really engaging with the social world in appropriate ways. And that's really the big theme of what we're trying to do, is trying to make handheld devices the next step in the evolution of assistive technology. We look at the wheelchair in the 18th century as a major contribution to the disabled community by enabling physical integration for those who have trouble physically integrating. We look at cell phones today as really the next step, or really the next big wave in assistive technology, by enabling social integration for those who have trouble socially connecting. So that's the big theme that drives our invention pipeline. So what we're doing right now is we're continuing to refine iPrompts with more features. Ultimately, iPrompts will become more of a Facebook and mobile support tool for parents, so that when they're out on the go, they can trade images with other special needs parents. So as opposed to just trading pictures as you would on Facebook for social reasons, here you're actually trading images and using images for a functional purpose to help an individual communicate and adapt to a new environment. And also, we really think that this concept of using iPrompts as a mobile support portal will really be particularly useful to the special needs community, because as a father of a child with special needs, when I'm out in the community, I'm out and about, I'm constantly thinking to myself, wow, no one in the so-called neurotypical population really understands my experience. Nobody really understands what I'm going through. Wouldn't it be great if I could reach out, to some of my friends, in my support group and say, hey, having a tough time, or wow, Evan just went down the slide, which wouldn't be a big deal to the typical world, but for me, I want to jump for joy when my son can make some physical accomplishment. So we think social networking within the context of the special community on a mobile platform will be particularly useful in helping this community integrate with the rest of the population. Sure. So those are basically the rest of my ideas. I think I'll just adjourn at this point. We've got video games, designed specifically for individuals with special needs as well, that try to attract them where they might have attention deficits or things like that, and try to draw them in to keep them engaged by offering different types of outputs. That might be particularly fascinating, and a variety of other applications as well.
Open up for questions.
Sure.
Are you available on other phones yet, or focusing on the iPhone?
We're not. Right now we're focusing on the iPhone. The touch interface we found to be the most friendly to the picture format, and obviously the easiest, the first platform to develop for is a third-party software developer, but we're eager to do more on other platforms as well.
Can you announce a base price yet, or?
We launched in May. We launched, and we've been selling the product for quite a while now at a price point of $49.99, which is very competitive to some of the traditional offerings out there. There's companies that make magnet boards. They sell sets of magnets, or some companies that sell these CD-ROMs with tons of images on, 5,000 images for $300, that kind of thing. And the parents are supposed to print them out off their computer and cut them out and laminate them. So we think it's very competitive to them.
Have you thought about using this with traumatic brain injury, stroke recovery?
That's a great question. We didn't initially think of that, and that was, we're designing things very, very selfishly to help me in my own house. But as we started to do that, as we started to build the company, as we started to get out there and meet people, we realized that there's broader potential here. And we've actually, since we launched iPrompts, we've actually been approached by the Brain Injury Association of Minnesota. Actually asked us for a bunch of copies, and they're recommending this to all of their members as well.
Because locally, there's a big center at Mount Sinai.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good
Two questions. Can you describe Evan's reaction to the iPhone experience versus this type of experience?
Versus this?
Yeah, exactly. How does he interact with this device?
Great question.
And the second one is, you know, you can create, in effect, your own language by sort of crafting a limited set of images versus opening up open sources to the community and have tens of thousands of images out there. Have you thought about which approach would be better overall?
Great question. We think that, to answer the first question, Evan reacted very favorably to it. You know, this isn't just CEO talk. We were really just like, wow, this is huge. Actually, if you look on our website, we have a video that you can see of our field trial participants and then what other parents and therapists had to say when they introduced the phone to the kids. I think they were attracted to the gadget, you know, the gadget factor. And I think, you know, without, you know, one thing I know about autism after my, you know, a couple of years of experience living with it is that there is no one size fits all. And so customizability is really important, you know, but there is a couple common elements to it. And one of the things is an attraction to the unsocial, if you will, the mechanical world, you know, the gadgets particularly. So it really tends to play into a strength, particularly in autism, because of the gadget factor. But as far as, you know, one size fitting all or not, the customizability helps. But often, you know, in terms of taking pictures and making things, you know, as you mentioned, sort of your own language for your own child, there's oftentimes things that are so generic experiences that you do want to share. We're going to go on a trip to, wish us luck, to the Bahamas coming up with my son and you know, and my 2-year-old daughter. We're thinking, wow, this is going to be a real nightmare as we go through JFK Airport. You know, what's it going to be like when my son has to get patted down and frisked, and he doesn't like to be touched, you know, or he has to walk through that long, narrow, dark corridor to the airplane, and it's loud or it smells. I mean, these are sensory experiences that you and I can just kind of shrug off, but they're so disruptive to him that it would be great if I could share images. So it's some of those generic experiences that we think would be good to be able to trade with other parents. Does that answer?
What's your sales and marketing strategy?
Okay, well, right now what we're doing is we're starting grassroots, because that's one of the things about the special needs world, and particularly in autism, is parents, when their kids are diagnosed, they gravitate to the internet. That's the first place they go. They do all this research. They're, you know, trying to find out what is autism. Does it, you know, what are the symptoms? Where do I go for help? How do I know? You know, how do I get services from my school? And what we saw as we experienced it is that there's really hot spots, discussion boards or blogs or things like that. And so it's a very grassroots sort of social community on the net to begin with. And so we're doing a lot of our marketing in those areas by blog posts and things like that. We've got some videos that we've put up on the internet. You know, we're just trying to get the word out also just in a very, you know, sort of classic word of mouth way. We're doing a lot of in-services at schools, going to different schools that serve particularly the autism community, giving presentations and giving out a couple free copies of our software, just trying to get the word out that way.
And not to answer your question, but the whole mHealth, the mobile health movement, been kind of taken off, and I think it's really been led by the diabetes community with 42 million plus potential customers.
Yeah.
So I think you guys can definitely ride the tails of that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of buzz, definitely.
Has it worked reversed, where your son is now communicating to you with the device?
It's a great. My son doesn't, because we're very lucky that he has developed enough language that we're just using this as we initially designed it as a prompting tool. However, when we field trialed it, there were a lot of reports of kids that would actually use this, although it's not intended as a voice output device, to actually pick this up and use this instead of using their $5,000 voice output device that's this big and it's all designed by PhD speech pathologists, etc. And using this saying, you know, or using their classic voice output device and saying, "Where's the iPhone, Mom?" You know, or "Where's the?"
That's the ad you need to be running.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you know, we have experienced some of that. We do, you know, we want to be very careful about. We don't want to misbrand the product, because we don't want to mislead people into thinking this is a voice output product, because it very much is not yet.